were so cataclysmic that even with that Silver Age or Golden Age consciousness, they weren't fully able to recover. The end of the Golden Age and the decline into the falling Silver Age, or what we would refer to as Mental Age, marked the time at which we were falling out of a state on this planet where the average person had the potential or capability to be in a state, a very high state of awareness. And they were a far more enlightened and benevolent society than we would be able to even imagine now, but they were beginning to lose that almost divine state that exists in the Golden Age. And as they started to descend into the Silver Age, there began to be more of an emphasis on what we would now refer to as sacred sites and sacred structures.
You could almost think of them as machines to enhance consciousness or to create an environment where, you might call it altered states of experience, but changes in consciousness, expansion of consciousness.
What these were really intended to do, it wasn't so much for the selfish purpose of, for example, boosting up a few individuals. This actually had to do with a much larger global perspective. And that's effectively what the Great Pyramid was. It was basically a device, a generator for, if you will, broadcasting and transmitting throughout the planetary structure, a type of field which uplifted the entire humanity. For at least 1,000 years, this structure performed beautifully. My guess is that it probably did a lot to help offset the fall into the Dark Ages. And I think what the pyramids did is that for those individuals that were at least somewhat receptive, it kind of kept that energy polarized into the higher centers.
This is very real, and I think this is very important. It's like great art or great spiritual insight, expansion of consciousness. In a way, there's nothing more important than that.
It couldn't do it forever because eventually Mother Nature is going to win out, and this cycle is part of nature. It's as much a part of the natural world as day and night are. We had the ability to grasp those electromagnetic forces and the more fundamental forces that underlie those to basically prop up humanity for a while using the system. Now the pyramids only have a very direct effect if you're close to them, which is the way it is in this age. If we go stand in the pyramid, we might feel an effect like that. But I suspect thousands of years ago, you didn't have to be near it. I think it was probably a global effect.
The physical structure could only do so much. The wisdom keepers created social structures as an additional influence to extend the energy of the Golden Age by creating mystery schools that preserved the ancient knowledge.
The whole idea of the schools of mystery and the ancient knowledge and preserving those traditions that had come down from those fabulous ages, that was lost. And then eventually it was ridiculed, and then finally it had to go underground because people would either actively burn those texts or persecute the people who had that belief system. And I think at that point, we were in the Dark Ages.
The exact end of the cycle of darkness is approaching. Each winter solstice before 2012, our sun comes into close alignment with the galactic center. This means we are beginning to feel the shift of energy already, even though the exact conjunction is December the 21st, 2012.
So all signs point to the interpretation that we are deep into the period of increasing darkness. What happens at the end of that downward trend is a turnabout. And I believe that that's where we are right now in history. The Mayan material for 2012 basically indicates this turnabout point, this point of maximized spiritual darkness. But then in the cycles of time, we turn the corner and we have an opportunity to open up to the transformational energies that can sweep us into the next cycle.
I hope that the Mayan ancestors trying to interpret the few writings that are left are correct, that it means there's going to be some quickening or something like that. Because that would actually go with our latest understanding of the yugas. What a yuga cycle really is one precession of the equinox. And using these later scholars' interpretation, we're actually in the very early stages of consciousness accelerating.
It has to do with the opportunity that we have to open up to the divine wisdom, to the transformational energies. But it always comes down to free will. Nothing is predetermined. It always comes down to a choice that we all have to close down in fear, succumb to fear, close down, become more limited in our consciousness, or open up to the blessing of the connection to the higher wisdom that is symbolized in the Maya tradition by the galactic center, the womb of the Great Mother, that which can transform and renew.
Could the ancients have had it right? Perhaps we should consider that we too can return to high levels of consciousness, heightened perception, and inspired creativity. It would serve us well to embrace nature and to protect the planet's environment. Can we go beyond religious dogma and allow ourselves to imagine what lies beyond death? How would humanity change if, instead of material wealth, consciousness was our highest value? The ideas depicted in the Pyramid Code revolutionize accepted beliefs about the purpose and the age of the pyramids and the Sphinx. Clearly not tombs, these ancient structures may have been used to access and transmit a type of energy that affects human consciousness. We have seen concrete evidence of high-level technology with laser-cut crystals, polished black basalt floors, and curious and sophisticated instruments, including those that generated energy from sound and light. Looking at the old riverbed, it seems clear that the Nile has migrated over time, and that it once flowed to the east of the pyramids. The ancient Egyptians built temples using sacred geometry corresponding to cavities in the human body. They had a profound belief in the significance of the stars and how the patterns of the constellations corresponded to our place in the cosmos. They understood large cycles of time, and they kept meticulous records of the motion of the stars and planets. The ancients had a deep respect for the sacred feminine principle and the importance of balancing the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. From pre-dynastic to dynastic times, the ancients maintained a deep reverence for nature. They were astonishingly creative and artistic. From clues left on temple walls, it seems clear that our Egyptian ancestors accessed altered states of consciousness. Their primary concerns were how we arrived in our earthly bodies, described in terms of biology, and what happened when we left our earthly bodies, described in terms of cosmology. Our ancestors left clues embedded in symbols that had multiple layers of meaning. They were empowered humans, using the full capacity of their senses. Today, our planet is in trouble politically, economically, environmentally, and morally. Many will agree that corrupt people hold places of power. Citizens are taxed beyond reason, and riches are amassed by an elite that controls the world. With all this evidence of the sophisticated science left by the ancients, can we still uphold the belief that we are the most advanced society that has ever existed on planet Earth? Is today's test-driven education system effective? Instead of rote memorization of facts, what would happen if today's youth were taught to expand their capacity to know? If we were taught to seek truth and justice, living by the ancient law of Ma'at, how would our society change? Taking our cue from the ancients, if we live in tune with nature, in an atmosphere of creativity and peace, and if we connect to spirituality, is this the answer to a healthy future for humanity? The ominous date of December the 21st, 2012 is fast approaching. Does this herald doomsday, or could it be a powerful gateway into new ways of being and thinking? Are we turning the corner and ascending out of the age of darkness to journey toward a new golden age? Is it possible that the ancients, living in a golden age in the distant past, were able to see into future cycles of time? Could they have predicted that humanity would plummet into the depths of collective despair? Could they have predicted that humans would be disempowered, thus losing their connection to spirituality? Did they leave magnificent structures skillfully aligned to the stars and encoded with symbols to act as a trigger for us to wake up now? It seems humanity is at a crucial juncture as we approach 2012. Are we ready to walk forward into a new future? Have we finally cracked the pyramid code?